Believe it or not, there's a story in the Telegraph today about folk dancing. Apparently the English Folk Dance and Song Society is attempting to make centuries-old traditions more inclusive. Now, I don't know how much folk dancing you do or how much folk dancing you know about, but folk dancing apparently has been around for quite a long time. But apparently now we're being told that they should drop terms like ladies and gentlemen to avoid offending minority genders. Barn dances, ceilidh dances often have defined male and female roles. Apparently there's somebody who calls out things that you have to do, guides participants through complex steps using terms like men and women, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You know, it sounds like the invitation to one of those old BBC shows, doesn't it? But apparently the Folk Dance Society aren't happy. So let's talk to a woman who's very sensible about these matters. Fiona McAnena, Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters. Fiona, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, this is a charity backed by the Arts Council, so I suppose we shouldn't be too surprised that they've suddenly thrown their collective kilts in the air, I don't know, wanting to make sure that gender-free language is used at all times. I mean, haven't they got anything better to do?
Well, we do know that the Arts Council's mad for this kind of thing. They think that it's progress. But I think there's a glimmer of good news in this, Mike, because if the English Folk Dance Society has latched onto this and started giving out pronoun advice, I think we're probably past peak pronoun. So,
I'm hoping so.
Maybe the tide is turning.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, we've seen what's happened in America with the whole DEI thing being completely deconstructed because big companies like Accenture, big companies like JP Morgan, Wall Street companies, Deloitte, the big accounting firm, they've basically just abandoned it all, haven't they? They've just gone, forget all this, diversity, equity and inclusion nonsense. We never really believed in it in the first place. And that's the most damning part for me, that these people who wanted to do it all and get your pronoun, I mean, Deloitte have now actually said to people, no more pronouns at the bottom of emails. And if they didn't believe in it, why were they so keen to do it?
Yeah, and it's very easy for them. It's trivial to them, pronouns, add them, take them away. They don't care. But I think there's a more serious problem behind this, because actually, for example, lots of local authorities, in trying to escape male and female references, they're actually converting changing rooms to be what they call gender neutral, which of course is mixed sex. And the evidence is that that is an open invitation for voyeurism, for covert filming with smartphones, and actually more sexual assaults happen in those changing rooms, of course. So, those big organizations, they push EDI. To them, it doesn't really matter. They just take it out again. But other people are living with the consequences.
Is there a sense, I've got, I don't know whether you agree, that it's still being kind of promoted in this country by the public sector, not so much by the private sector, but more and more by the public sector only?
I think it's very embedded. It's been written into policies. There's a big push, and it's been going on for years. And I think it will take a long time to get rid of it. And it will take some leadership. We need to see some confident leadership that says, sometimes in life, it matters whether you're male or female. There are consequences to that. There's no harm in saying so. It's not offensive to be called a man or a woman. Whether it's true or not, it's still not an insult.
No, I'm laughing. I'm laughing just because it seems so obvious that you shouldn't have to say it,
Yeah. Well, and yet people have just swallowed this idea that it's somehow hurtful.
Yeah.
But, if people want to call them, people can call themselves what they like, but the rest of us don't have to. And sometimes we just can't ignore it, whatever it might do to the person who's wanting to adopt a new identity. The rest of us have eyes, and sometimes we can't ignore them.
Well, it got so ridiculous, didn't it, that I think it was last week or the week before that we reported that the railways have now issued a new 134-page book of guidance or something, which tells you how you can refer to people. And one of the words that they say you shouldn't use is passengers. And I'm going, well, what do you call people on a train? Well, you can't call them that. I mean, looking at the guidelines here from the English Folk Dancing Society, couple apparently and partner might be bad to say because some people might feel a bit uncomfortable. And also apparently they say, they actually write this down, right? If you ask someone to dance, you should be prepared to accept no as an answer without expecting an explanation.
Yes, in other words, be a grown-up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, don't they do discos at school anymore? I mean, I was 16, I think, when I went to my first disco, and there were plenty of times when I was asking girls to dance and they said no, and I didn't ask for an explanation. I just walked away disappointed and kind of slightly ashamed.
Well, I think, these organizations act as if language is everything, as if the words you use somehow change the experience. So not calling them passengers will make us all more comfortable, or
Yes.
ignore the delays. And language does matter.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fix a bad experience, but it can conceal an important
Yeah.
truth.
But there is this problem in this country that we now live in this world that we now live in. I've been banging on all week about a sign that I keep seeing everywhere I go, where something's being dug up, and it seems to be part of, most of London is currently being dug up. And everywhere you look, there's a sign that says, considerate constructors, a member of the Considerate Constructors Alliance or something like this. And you go, well, you can't just say you're considerate. You're digging up a street, you're making it impossible for anybody to get down it, you're making it impossible for pedestrians to walk and cross the street they want. You're not considerate. You're not considerate just because you make a sign that says you're considerate.
Well, that's the irony of language. Sometimes it changes reality, and sometimes it really doesn't change reality. And that's why we have to be able to hold on to and speak the truth.
Yeah. Here's another top tip. Participants should also avoid touching other dancers unnecessarily, according to the guidelines. Well, again, surely you would know that, wouldn't you?
Well, presumably, if you don't want to touch anyone and don't want to be touched, you probably shouldn't go ceilidh dancing.
Yeah, but I was thinking more in terms of touching the person that you're maybe not dancing with. I mean, I don't know. It seems to be an absolute nightmare. But there we are. Listen, Fiona, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Fiona McAnena, Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters.